If you're holding on to something because you say it's important, then it's important enough to keep in your home. Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I'm really glad you stopped by. My name is Pam, I'm a professional organizer, and on this channel I like to share all sorts of organizing tips and strategies. So if you like learning new ways to get things organized around your home, please stick around, subscribe, and before you leave, feel free to say hi in the comments below and let me know if there's any organizing issues that you'd like me to talk about in upcoming videos. So today, I'm going to be reacting to an extreme attic declutter video that was uploaded by Callie Bransford. I really hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She has a YouTube channel named But First Coffee. I think I may have found my long-lost soul sister. Anyway, on her channel, she shares tips to help you save time and money. She talks about motherhood, life hacks, DIY, shopping tips, and even home organizing tips. I'll leave the link to her channel in the description below. Now, a viewer sent me a link to her extreme attic decluttering video and requested I do a reaction on it. Apparently, she uploaded this video about a year ago. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
Listen, in my defense, I know that attics aren't like supposed to be so clean and so organized, but this is like really bad. Now, my attic was organized at one point in my life, but then pretty much I got pregnant and I couldn't really like get up and down the stairs really well, and then we had a new baby. But I know I'm not alone. I feel like probably a lot of people have a really disorganized attic or basement, so I'm gonna bring you along with me as I tackle this.
Okay, right off the bat, she makes a very good point about an issue that happens to all of us. And I did a video a while back about this, about 3 main factors that happen in our lives that can affect disorganization or help create disorganization. And the first one is a life event. She obviously had that. She said, I got pregnant, I had a baby. Life events can take otherwise organized systems and just throw them into total disarray. So that's one thing. The second factor that often affects the organization around our homes is our personality changes. Okay, your personality as a 20-year-old can be very different from your personality at 40 years of age. Your perspective and what is important to you often changes in that time, and again, organized systems that were great when you were 20 may not work so well when you're in your 40s. All right, so that's the second factor in life. The third factor is just personal growth. And that is basically something that you enjoyed in the past, maybe a hobby or a sport or whatever. You did that so much that you're kind of tired of it now. It's not as important anymore to you and you're on to other activities. So those 3 factors can affect how something that used to be organized suddenly becomes disorganized, much like her attic. So let's get back to it.
I am going to have 3 basic piles. I'm gonna have the throwaway pile, the donate pile, and obviously like the keep area.
Okay, that's an excellent way to start. She's obviously setting up her piles to start the sorting process. And I have said this so many times in previous videos, and anyone who's worked with me, if you want to know the steps to organizing a room, remember the word space. Because let's face it, organization creates more space around your house. But it also stands for the order in which you should organize. S stands for sorting. You should always sort your items out first before anything else. See what you have, put like items together. And like she said, create piles of what you're going to keep, what you're going to toss, what you're going to donate. I would also even create a pile maybe of give away to family or friends. Sometimes when you're a little conflicted about what to do with an item, you might know of a family member or a friend who might need that item. So I always say maybe create a 4th pile if you find that might be the case. So S is the sorting. Then you go on to P. That stands for purging. After you sort all your items out, then you want to purge any duplicates, anything that's broken, anything you don't use anymore, anything you don't love anymore. The next step after that is A, it stands for assign a space of where that's going to go. Once you've pared down your items, you can see where they would best fit if you're going to store them. So you want to assign that space ahead of time. Then you come to the letter C. That stands for containerize. A lot of people make mistakes about that. They go out and they buy the containers first before they ever start an organizing project. No. Sort, purge, and assign a space first. Then you buy the containers. Why? You might actually have purged and pared down these items, so you need a much smaller bin than you think. Also, you might decide to put it in a different location if there's only a few items left. So you don't want to go out and buy a huge container and then have just these 3 little items and they're not even going to be put where you thought they were. And finally, the last step is E, and for me that stands for equalize. That means equalize the items coming in and out of your home. It's kind of like a maintenance step. If something new comes in, then maybe something old needs to leave. It's to help stop creating piles from growing back.
I started some donation boxes downstairs, so I'm gonna do a Goodwill run either today or tomorrow. Okay, I also have this old space heater that I'm gonna donate. Goodwill is really good about taking your stuff, but they will want it separated by items, and they do sort of like check through some stuff because there's not everything that they accept. So if you're doing a donation, don't put like a ton of stuff into one box because it'll be kind of hard. So I will like try to organize like clothes in one thing and like frame and household stuff and then appliances separately. It's just gonna make it a lot easier when you drop off.
Okay, I applaud her for sorting and organizing the stuff that she's going to hand to Goodwill. And I'm not sure if it's just her Goodwill that's local to her location. I've never had Goodwill request that you divide things up by category like that. As a matter of fact, when I've had huge drop-offs, they literally will take everything in my trunk and dump it into this gigantic rolling bin. So everything I pre-sorted, because I used to do that a lot, and everything that I pre-sorted often, like I said, was just dumped into a bin, so I stopped sorting it all out. What I would recommend is that you contact any donation center that you're planning on taking your stuff to and find out what the requirements are ahead of time. And I always want to encourage people not to use them as dumping zones. I see a lot of people just, anything that they don't know what to do with, they just say, yeah, donate it. And it's not even donatable, okay? So what I always suggest is that you only donate that which you would be willing to buy on the other end. If it is not in good condition, don't donate it, either recycle it or throw it in the garbage.
Okay, one suggestion, get like a box or like a whatever that you can kind of carry around with you that's just random stuff that you don't know where it belongs. You can start throwing all the random stuff in here, and then when you get to the end and you're organized, you'll know where all of these things belong, so you don't end up with just like a bunch of more random stuff where it doesn't go.
Excellent point. She calls it a miscellaneous box. I often call it a relocation box. Because here's the thing, when you start an organizing project, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I even found myself doing it. After I start organizing in a room, I will find something that doesn't belong. So I will pick up that item and I'll go take it to where it belongs in another room. And then I'll find something in that room that I need to work on. And so I will stop and do that. And then that'll take me to another room. And pretty soon, 2.5 hours later, I finally make it back to the original project. So by her saying, you know, I have this miscellaneous bin for things that I can go relocate later, it keeps you on task for what you need to keep doing. And then at the end of the day, take that basket, go around and put everything away where it belongs. So she's doing a really good job.
Now, for the things that you don't use a lot, maybe you use them once a year, or maybe they're like family mementos, but you don't necessarily need access to a lot, using self-storage is a really great solution here. So what I'm actually gonna do is box up some of this stuff and put it in a simply self-storage facility. What this allowed me to do is still have my stuff without having to take up space in my house for it.
Okay, in my personal opinion, storage facilities, off-site storage facilities should only be used in temporary situations, like if you are moving and either your house isn't ready and you put your stuff in storage until your house is ready, or if you're trying to stage your house and you don't want all your stuff around and you put it momentarily in a storage facility. But if that isn't the situation, if you're holding on to something because you say it's important, then it's important enough to keep in your home. Because honestly, once that item gets into that storage facility, you're not checking back on it. You will probably even forget you have it if it's in one of those off-site facilities. So again, if you're deeming something that's important enough to keep, it should be important enough to stay in your home. Because here's the thing, a small storage unit, like a 5 foot by 5 foot unit, that's like the size of a master closet, that can run you up to $60 a month to rent. And if you want it climate controlled, it can sometimes be as much as $75 a month. And if you need even something larger than that, if you need like a 5 by 10 unit, a 5 foot by 10 foot unit usually starts at about $70 a month and $90 if you want it climate controlled. So storage facilities should be your absolute last resort when it comes to storing items in your home.
And then I can store it at one of their locations. You get your own set of keys to your storage location, and they all offer 24/7 surveillance. You ever have a word that you know how to say, but then like one day you just can't say it anymore?
Oh gosh, do I understand that? I'm so with her. As a dyslexic person, it happens to me all the time. Actually, it happens to me all the time when that record button turns on that camera, but I can definitely relate.
But there are some things that you do want to keep for sentimental value. I don't know about you, but I remember as a child like going through my parents' and my grandparents' stuff, like seeing their photos and things from their wedding, and I want my own children to be able to do that. So I love that I can box this stuff up, I can store it at a nice, safe location, and it'll be there for my children, but it's not going to take up space in my house on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, I can understand what she's saying, but again, if your photos and things are in a storage facility, when the moment strikes that your kids want to look at it, the items are going to be at that storage facility. And the reason she could go through her parents' and her grandparents' stuff was because it was on site. It was at her house. She had the opportunity to do that. What I would suggest is if there's a lot of photos, put them into a digital format because it'll last longer and it's a lot safer, and it keeps it on hand should that opportunity arise where the kids are like, hey, what was it like when you were a kid? You have it right there. You don't have to say, hold that thought, I gotta run to a storage facility to get it, because what's gonna happen is you're not gonna do that. You're gonna miss the opportunity. And she's got great memories of that. If something is, again, special enough to keep it in your house, honor the memory it represents, keep it out so you can see it daily. Don't put it in a box and store it somewhere. But I can totally understand where she's coming from. She's at an age where she might be having another child sometime in the future, and if there's not physically enough space for that, I can understand that. Like I said, if it's a memory you're keeping, keep it home. Keep it where everybody can enjoy that memory.
I have a bunch of craft stuff, and it's in like 3 different Tupperwares. I'm going to try to combine it into one big Tupperware. Now, the reason I like to use Tupperwares if I'm storing it in my house, even if it's an attic or a basement, is it's not like climate controlled, it's not like humidity controlled, so I'm going to use Tupperware for that kind of stuff. It's going to keep the dust out.
That's a good idea. I always recommend using those Rubbermaid bins over any cardboard box, and I'm so glad she's mentioning about the climate in an attic or basement. That is so important to remember when you're storing your items. I remember the first summer in Arizona here, we had moved from the Midwest out to Arizona, and I didn't take into account the climate in the summers here when it gets to be 110 plus in the summer. And I had stored some holiday decorations, snow globes as a matter of fact, and they have a wax ring around the bottom. And I didn't take into account that when your temperatures get upwards of 110, 115, that little wax ring that keeps the water in the snow globe, that melts. So it's very important that she's taken into consideration the climate of where you're going to store something. So that is so important to keep in mind. And she said she's storing her craft things in this bin. And I thought I saw like a paint can of some sort. And that's actually a product you have to be very careful about how you store it. For example, fabric paint, if it's left in extreme temperatures, it loses the ability to adhere to clothing. Acrylic paint, it will often, if it's exposed to higher temperatures, it'll start separating and the color will actually change. So you should always keep that in mind when you're storing items like that.
All right, guys, it's important to remember that it always gets worse before it gets better. Stick with it. You got to take everything out. It's usually messiest before it's cleanest. What do they say? Like darkest before the dawn or whatever? I'm embracing it.
Good for you. She is so right, and that is such an important thing to remember. When you start an organizing project, things are going to get messy, very messy, before it gets better. It is the darkest before the light. So try to remember that when you start an organizing project. I always tell our clients when we walk in the house, I say, we're gonna make your house a mess before it looks nice. So it's a good point she brings up.
All right, you're gonna get to a point in the organizing journey where you kind of just stand there and you look around and you're like, I don't know what to do next. It happens to all of us. The best way to combat this is just focus on like a small thing. Like say, okay, you know what? I have this box over here. I'm putting all of my like wrapping stuff in it. And I'll move on to something else like books, going through all my books, finding all of the books and sorting them into the keep and donate pile. So when you feel overwhelmed, just pick one small task to focus on.
She's absolutely right. Actually, I call that overwhelmed feeling decision fatigue. Now, for people who are new to the organizing process, I usually advise them to go ahead and stop for the day. Making decision after decision after decision can become exhausting, especially if you don't do it a lot. And it's very important that you don't try to force yourself to just keep going even when that fatigue sets in, because what happens is you're so exhausted that you start making bad decisions. You either say, oh, just throw everything away, or the opposite, you say, no, I can't get rid of it. I can't get rid of it. I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep. The decision-making process suffers. So if you are feeling that overwhelmed, I usually tell people to stop there and resume it the next day when they've had a chance to get some rest, get good sleep, hydrate, all those things. Start fresh the next day. It's far better than making bad decisions that you're going to regret later. Now, obviously, she is not new to the organizing process. A lot of what she's been doing in this video, she's got a lot of good organizing skills already there, and her advice to take something smaller, excellent advice.
Also, let's get some more caffeine. Caffeine always makes everything better. We all know this. It's just a fact of life.
I love this woman. She and I think a lot alike. This is my go-to cup. Genius doesn't have it on decaf, and oh my gosh, she and I, soul sisters.
Let's talk about getting rid of sentimental items, because I feel like that's the stuff you hang on to just because like you hold on to it because it means something to you. These are little lanterns that were at our wedding. Well, we got them for like $2 at IKEA. I have like 12 of them. They don't match the decor in my house. I'm probably never gonna use them. I've carried them to the 2 houses by now. It's probably time for them to go. But it's hard to let go of them because I have sentimental values. So my trick is either just part with it or like keep one if you really want to, and like find a place to display it and part with the rest.
Yes, 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 she is 100% correct. I really couldn't have said it better myself.
The most amazing part of this is how many like leftover empty Tupperwares I had. I actually bought more of them thinking that I was going to need them to organize the attic, but once I got in there and I started really being smart about the way I organized, I actually had way less stuff than I actually thought I did.
That's exactly what I said before. You want to wait to buy the containers till the end. I know how tempting it is, especially if you're in the store and you're like, well, I'm here, I might as well get the bins, I'm going to do this project. Please don't. You will be stuck with more clutter at the end with all these empty bins that you couldn't use or that didn't work right for you. So we've all been there. We've all done that. I have done it as a professional organizer. I have bought bins before I start the project, and I regretted it every time because once you pare things down, you don't need as big of a box as you bought, all right? So again, keep that in mind. Buy the containers after you've done the sorting, purging, assigning. Then you containerize it.
This section is the rest, and it's literally just one row deep. It used to literally be crap all the way out to that window. There's literally nothing that doesn't have a spot where it goes. There's nothing that's outside of a box that's just like thrown anywhere. All right, one final shot of me in really flattering attic lighting. That is my attic declutter.
She did a fabulous job, and she offered such great organizing tips throughout this video. I'll leave the link to this video in the description box below. Go check it out. Well, I have to tell you, I really enjoyed watching her video. And I want to thank the viewer who sent me the link and suggested I do a reaction video on it. If any of you come across an organizing video that you'd like to see my reaction to it, just leave a link to the video in the comments below, and I'll try to check it out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know by leaving me a like because it really helps me out. And if you know anyone who might enjoy watching this video, please feel free to share it with them as well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. If you like this video, why don't you check out one of these over here? And don't forget, the links to my socials are found below.